Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to talk about my June reading plans. So in June I am participating in several readathons. Those are the Queer Lit Readathon, Read Caribbean, and the Olympic Games. I will be representing Team Aphrodite or House Aphrodite, which is why I'm wearing a flower crown, because why not, right? All of the information on the dates and the hosts for the readathons will be in the description. So I'm going to start with my plans for the Queer Lit Readathon. That is hosted by Kathy Treithart, Rogan Shannon, and the guest hosts this time around are Sarah and Rebecca from Tea Hags, so I will link all of their information down below. And I think this one starts on May 30th or 31st, and it goes for 9 days into the beginning of June. But again, all of that information will be in the description. And they have this beautiful rainbow bingo board, and you can try and complete as many challenges as you want, or kind of mix and match. And you can try and make bingo, you can try and hit blackout, you can just pick like a few challenges. It's super laid back as to like how many challenges you want to try and hit. And I think if I planned this right, I think I can actually hit a couple of bingos with just 3 books, although I might add other ones. I also want to pass on the request that if you do a TBR or any kind of wrap up or any kind of participation video for the Queer Lit Readathon, please caption it, because Rogan, one of the hosts, is deaf, and if you don't do that, then he can't actually experience your content. So the first of the 3 books I have here is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite, and I'm really excited to get to this one. And the challenges I'm counting this for is rainbow cover, because it is all red, or almost all red. Host recommendation, because Rebecca from Tea Hags actually talked about this book specifically in her rec video, and the ones that she counted it for are summer vibes and non-coming out story. That's what Rebecca said this one would count for, and I'm really excited to get to this. So this is about 2 women, I don't remember what century it is, but a couple hundred years ago, and I think one of them is hired by the other to work on like translating some like astronomy texts or something like that. And I know that one of the women, so one of the women is like very like science focused, and the other one is, she does this beautiful embroidery, and that's where her talents are. And both Rebecca and Yvette, my friend Yvette from Book Cave, who I think initially heard about this book from, she absolutely loved it. Both of them talked about how like really wonderfully this book portrayed the idea that just because you're not a woman in STEM, it doesn't mean that you're doing feminism wrong, basically. And that's just something that means a lot to me. I'm really, really excited to get to this. The next book I want to get to is one that I have been meaning to read forever, and that is Tosh Hart's Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. And I remember being so excited about this when it came out a few years ago, and it's one that I heard a lot of good things about initially, and then as time has gone on, I've heard like more and more mixed reviews, so I'm a little nervous now, but I actually put this on my next round of 5-star TBR predictions that I have kind of abandoned. I did that video like a couple years ago, I think, and I'm still not done with all of those. But this is about our main character who's, she does like a modern day, is it Anna Karenina? Yeah, a modern day adaptation of Anna Karenina on her YouTube channel, and then a popular YouTuber shares that, and so her channel kind of blows up. So she's suddenly very, very popular, very famous. But I think the main conflict of this book is that our main character Tosh is asexual, and she's not sure if she wants to or if she can come out to this guy that she likes. She doesn't know how he's going to react. So I think that's what the book is about. Like I said, I have heard increasingly mixed things, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm using this for 5-star TBR prediction, because at the time it was a 5-star TBR prediction, and also backlist. I think this is backlist. I don't remember what the year cutoff they said, but this is from 2017. I think that kind of counts. And then finally, one of the challenges I want to hit is the like make up your own challenge one, which is like the question mark one. And what I decided to make a category for is to read a book by a queer author that you love. So like you've read some of their work before, you consider them a favorite, or you really love their work and you want to read something else by them. And for that one I have Blue Iris by Mary Oliver. This is a book of poetry. Oh, it says poems and essays. I didn't know that. And Mary Oliver is one of my absolute favorite poets. I just really adore her style. I think it's deceptively simplistic, because like she's not like overly fancy with her poetry, but every single word feels like the only word that could have been used there, and I feel like that's one of the markers of good poetry. And I'm also of course using this for the poetry prompt, so very much looking forward to this. This also would probably count for rainbow prompt because it's like green mostly. So anyway, I'm keeping it pretty low-key with the books I have chosen. I might throw in more if I decide to later, but those are the prompts that I want to hit. Next I'm going to talk about the Read Caribbean books that I want to read. And this is a readathon or reading project that is hosted by Sajid from Books Are My Social Life, and also by Book of Sins. I think she was the original creator of this reading project, or this idea, and this is going to be a little different because I have some books here, some Caribbean books here, or books by Caribbean authors that I definitely want to get to, but they haven't actually released the challenges yet, and I have to film this today. So I'm just gonna hope that some of these at least will fit the challenges. At least one of them I don't have a book chosen for yet, and that is to read a queer book by a Caribbean author. So I'll have to decide on that one at least later. but I have a few Caribbean books that I'm really excited to get to. And the first one I have is Pride by Ibby Zaboy. This is a modern day Pride and Prejudice retelling featuring an Afro-Latinx cast, and I have heard very mixed things about this one, but I'm really curious. I think there's a lot of themes about gentrification in this book, which I can't wait to see how that is connected to the Pride and Prejudice storyline, because I think that could work really well, and I don't really know much else about this one really, but I'm very excited about it. And Ibby Zaboy is Haitian. Next I have The Epic Fail of Arturo Zamora by Pablo Cartaya. This book first came to my attention, I think, last year when Andrea from Book Ramble was doing a bunch of Latinx Heritage Month recommendations, and she said that this one is sort of like a middle grade Don't Date Rosa Santos, which that's a book I absolutely loved. It was one of my favorite books of last year, so I'm really excited about this. And yeah, I think it is kind of a similar premise because our main character is fighting against this land developer who wants to like get rid of like their local like community area and everything. I just feel like this is going to be lovely. It's also a Pura Belpré honor book, which is also very exciting. Ever since I read that picture book about her, I feel like I'm noticing those awards more, which is really cool. So yeah, I don't know much about this one except that Arturo, our main character, teams up with a girl named Carmen to try and stop this, as the back of the book says, a smarmy land developer. So really, really excited about this. And you guys know I love middle grade. By the way, Pablo Cartaya is, I believe, Cuban American. And then speaking of middle grade, a book I'm very excited about, which was in my most recent book haul, is Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. So Ghost Squad is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I've heard wonderful things about it. And it takes place in, I think, St. Augustine, Florida? Yeah. And it's about our main character, Loosely, who I think something goes wrong. Her and her best friend make a mistake, and I think a bunch of ghosts start wreaking havoc in their town, and they have to try and fix that. I know Jocelyn loved this book. I know Andrea loved this book. I have heard basically only glowing reviews, and like I said, I love middle grade. I'm very excited for this. And Claribel Ortega's background and family are from the Dominican Republic, and I think this book also draws on specifically Dominican folklore too, so I'm really excited about this. I also have a couple of picture books I want to get to. The first one is Party, a Mystery by Jamaica Kincaid, who is from Antigua. That book is illustrated by Ricardo Cortez. This one I kind of came across when I was looking for recommendations for some other Caribbean authors, and this is a picture book about some girls who I don't know if they like meet Nancy Drew, like if Nancy Drew is like a character in the book, or like if they just kind of follow in her footsteps or what, but this sounds like a really cute mystery. And I actually saw that my library has this available on Hoopla, so I'm gonna read that picture book. It just sounds like a really fun premise, even though that description was not very thorough, I'm sorry. And then the other picture book I want to read is, I definitely want to read something illustrated by Vashti Harrison. I read her, I think Little Leaders was the book I read of hers last year, and I loved it. Her art is also just gorgeous. If you follow her on Twitter or anywhere, like, she is so talented. And she's also Caribbean. And I was looking up information. I couldn't really find specifically, like, if she is mentioned, which part of the Caribbean she's from or her family is from, but I do know she is a Caribbean artist, and I really, really love her work. And I have a couple of physical books that I could get to from her, but I think the one I want to read is one that I will talk about a little later in this video, because I'm using that for another reading challenge. But yeah, I just love her work, and I'm really excited to have an excuse to read more from her. Okay, so we're going to finish up with the books I plan to read for the Olympic Games. Again, I am representing the Aphrodite cabin, and the description for her says, Lady Love. Aphrodite is the goddess of love, beauty, and passion. She is temperamental, crafty, smart, and free. She is gentle and gracious to those she favors, but can hold unending grudges against those who disrespect her. Aphrodite cares deeply for her children and their fathers. She has an absolute trust in the power of love. I do really feel like I would probably be in the Aphrodite cabin, so I don't know. I'm excited about this. I think this readathon runs for the whole month of June, which by the way, Read Caribbean also does. And there is a sign up where you'd like decide which team you're on and everything, so I will link that information down below as well. So here we go. We have several mandatory challenges. The first is Aphrodite is often interested in the love lives of mortals. Read a romance to curb her curiosity. And that one I'm doubling up with one of my Queer Lit books, and that is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. Again, very excited to get to this one. The next challenge is to read a book with a cover you think is beautiful, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the Vashti Harrison illustrated book that I was talking about earlier. And I'm going to read Solway by Lupita Nyong'o, again illustrated by Vashti Harrison. This just is such a stunning looking book. Like, I have heard nothing but good things about this book, and I love Lupita Nyong'o, and I think the story of this book is about a little girl who has very dark skin, and she doesn't think she's beautiful, and then she has this like experience with the night sky that kind of makes her realize that she is beautiful, and I just feel like this is going to be absolutely stunning. I can't wait to read it. I actually got the notice from my library that my hold on the ebook had come through, so definitely going to be reading that during the month. I already have a feeling that I'm going to be buying a physical copy of this book after I read it, because I just feel like this is going to be absolutely stunning. And I also feel like theme-wise, I feel like Aphrodite would really approve of this kind of book. Like realizing that you're beautiful just the way you are, I think that is Aphrodite all over. So really excited to get to that one. Next is to read a book with a strong, independent female main character. And for that one, I have tentatively chosen one of my library books that I still have checked out. I need to actually read those before I eventually need to turn them back into the library when they reopen. And for that one, I have tentatively chosen Beyond the Black Door by A.A. Strickland. I don't remember too much about this one, except I think the main character, I think she could like travel through dreams or something like that. And I believe she's also asexual. And I don't really know what like the actual story is about, except that I think she goes through a door she's not supposed to go through, and then everything happens from there. But from what I've heard about the book, I do feel like she is going to be a very strong and independent main character. The next one is Aphrodite speaks fondly of her daughter Juliet and her short-lived romance with Romeo. Read a classic novel in remembrance of them. This actually works out perfect because our Austen Anonymous book for June is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I think this is tied for my favorite Jane Austen, so I'm very much looking forward to this. I mean, I love all of Jane Austen's books, but this is like one of my absolute favorites. This is like surprisingly short. I always think of it as being a longer book, but I am really looking forward to getting to read this again, and this is definitely a classic novel. And also definitely a classic romance, although it doesn't say you have to read a classic romance. So I absolutely love this one, and I'm very excited to read it and discuss it in June. The final mandatory challenge is, as his lover, Aphrodite spends a lot of time with Ares. Complete a prompt that honors him. And the one that I picked is, I think, the one about Ares never looking before he leaps, or something like that, like not really planning ahead. And that is to read a book that you don't know anything about. And I have picked Grey Wolf Island by Tracy Neithercott. And the reason I laugh is because this definitely fits the challenge. I have no idea what this book is about. I did when I bought it. The synopsis sounded great, and now I can't remember a single thing about it except that I think it might be middle grade. I'm not sure, although looking at the cover and the back makes me think that might not be true. Anyway, I definitely don't know anything about this one, so that's what I'm reading. And then the advanced challenges have to do with classes, I think, or like activities at Camp Half-Blood, which I think is super cool. So for canoeing, you have to read a book with a blue cover. And for that one, I have chosen Moonkind or Moonkind by Sarah Prinius. This has like a lot of blue on the cover. It's not completely blue, but I'm gonna count it. And this is the third and final book in the Winterling trilogy, which is a series I have really been enjoying. There are kind of like fairy creatures in this book, but I feel like this series is a good one for people who like fae, and also people who don't really like fae, but who are interested in that kind of like forest feeling fantasy. I don't know if that made sense at all. But I have really been enjoying this series, and I'm excited to finish it off. And then for archery, the prompt is to read a book under 200 pages, and I'm actually going to read an ebook that is in that series. I think it's like an epilogue. It follows like what happens to the main characters like after the events of the series, and that is called Owl by Sarah Prinius. So also looking forward to getting to that. And then the final advanced challenge is Pegasus writing, and that is to read a book that was published in the last 5 years. And for that one, I have The Mythic Dream, edited by Dominic Parisian and Nava Wolf. And this is a bunch of, I think, are they all mythology retellings, or most of them, by a lot of different fantasy authors, and I'm very much looking forward to getting to this. This is actually one of the books I have on my 2020 Retelling Bingo Challenge. By the way, do you guys still care about seeing what I plan to read for that, even though I've like been reading them now because it's, you know, almost June? I have that video filmed and edited, so if you still want to see it, I can probably post that at some point, so let me know. It has Naomi Novik and T. Kingfisher and a bunch of authors who I haven't read but I'm excited to try. So yeah, and I also feel like this is very in line with the theme for the Olympic Games Readathon, because I think all or most of these stories are based on mythology. So really excited about this one. I guess I can stop saying that for every book, but it's true. Okay, everybody, so those are the books I plan to read for June, or at least that I plan to pick from for June. I've been mood reading a lot more lately, but I did really well with predicting the books I would be in the mood for in May, so hopefully I can keep that up. All of these I'm really excited to get to. Please comment and let me know if you guys have read any of these books, what you thought of them, or if you're participating in any of these readathons. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!